I'm going to read the committee commission chair language. Pursuant to recently adopted amendments to the Illinois Open Meetings Act included in Public Act 101-0640, public bodies may, in certain circumstances, hold entirely virtual public meetings without a quorum physically present in any one location. Governor Pritzker's Executive Order 2021-27 has extended this provision through November 13th, 2021. As chair of the Glencoe Council for Inclusion and Community, I have made the determination that it is not practical nor prudent to meet in person at this time. Accordingly, this meeting of the Glencoe Council for Inclusion and Community is being conducted virtually with members participating through the Zoom webinar platform. Assistant Village Manager Sharon Tanner is in the Village Hall conference room as required by the Open Meetings Act. Oh, thank you for making that so short, Sharon. I really appreciate that. That's like so much easier now to read and it's not a whole bunch of words. So welcome everyone. I hope everyone had a really nice month. I feel like it flew by really quick. So it was like really fast, but I know that there's a lot of action that has happened between then and now. So I can't wait to have our meeting started. But before we start, I would like to say a couple things, a couple housekeeping points. Let's try to keep the meeting to an hour. I would really like to get off in an hour for personal reasons. It is Diwali. It's a really big holiday for us. And while it started yesterday, I did nothing. I worked all day. And so I feel like I should do something today and tomorrow. So, and I'm sure Sharon wants to go home to her baby. So Sharon's going to be my timekeeper to make sure that we are all on track to end this meeting on time. And that brings me to our, our wonderful Reverend Gary, who has been a very key member of this community. So in Glencoe, as in general, so not just our council, but Glencoe, everyone knows him. He's always downtown, walking around, talks to everyone, very smart man. And he is moving away to Chicago. Today is his last day in our council. And I wanted to take this moment to recognize all of Reverend Gary's commitment to our community, to our council, and all of the initiatives and ideas that he has brought forward and put in action. Everything that he has contributed, just a wonderful person, always approachable. I know that everyone here would agree with that. So we will miss you for sure. I'd really like you to say it for a couple minutes, just, you know, take the floor. And I know you're really going to not like this, but I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to ask you to say something before you leave us.
Well, yeah, you did put me on the spot. Thank you for the kind words. I have really enjoyed my work with the council. I've met some lasting friends and relationship that will take me beyond the borders of Glencoe. No matter where I may find my ministry at, I know I have resources. I have people I can run things by, and just to pick your brain, just to help me out as we all try to make our world a more beloved community. So I want to thank you collectively as this council for all that you are continuing to do and will do in the village of Glencoe. Thank you individually for your sacrifice of your family, your sacrifice of your gifts and talents. Sometimes it's not seen nor heard, but yet all the work that you do behind the scenes does make a difference. And even though it's a snail-paced type of work, the good thing is there's movement. And as long as there's movement, there's transitions, there's change, there's difference making, and there's impact. So know that your work is making an impact, not only in your life, but the life of Glencoe. Do you ever need me? I'm really down the road. I'm just simply down the road. You might even see my face in Glencoe because there are some places I would still visit and people to see. So call me. The back line number is still the same, and I'm there for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend.
Anybody else wants to say anything?
Please don't make this about Reverend Gary leaving, right? Make this about continuation of what we're doing. I'm not dead, and I'm not gone away for good. I'm here. Just know I'm here. I am a resource. Okay.
Oh, now that you say it like that, okay. I think we'll stop talking about you.
Funeral. Let's have some words of comfort and eulogize him or something like that. No, I'm here just for us to bounce ideas and thoughts in, you know.
I'm so sorry. That's not how it was intended.
You've lived a remarkable life, Reverend Gary.
Yeah, there you go. Don't egg him on now, right?
Right.
All right.
But
well,
I think everybody has made their individual comments to me personally. And I want to say thank you. Thank you, Dipti, for opening up your home. Thank you, everybody who came by just to share in that moment. It meant a lot to me and Kimberly, and so we're grateful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everything. We will miss you. So, but you know, you'll be around. So I'm positive we'll have you back on our meetings sometime just to know how you're doing. So come join us too. All right. So for today, we only have a couple of things on the agenda.
Dipti, can we do a roll call first?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Why do I always forget that? See,
No
we have
worries.
to have meetings more often, then I won't forget all that. Yes, of course. Can I call the meeting to order and have a roll call, please?
Sure. Member Clark,
Here.
Bjork,
Here.
Flanagan, not here.
Margot's here, but she was muted.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. Gary, yes, you just talked. Guzman,
Yes.
Molly,
Here.
Moses,
Here.
Mizell,
Here.
Ruben,
Yes.
Scott,
Here.
Young.
Here.
Great.
Excellent.
And then,
Thank you.
and while we're at it, should
I-
we pass the minutes as well? Was that what you were gonna do?
Yes. Now,
My apologies.
I have my list in front of me, so now I can go through it. Now I won't miss anything, but thanks for reminding me. Yes, I'd like to have the consideration of the October 6th minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I so move. I second it.
Thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Clark,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Guzman,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Moses,
Yes.
myself,
She said yes.
Yeah.
Ruben,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Young.
You know, I wrote to Emily that it was either the October minutes or the September minutes. I was listed as not attending, and I was attending. She wrote
I
back
think-
to me to say,
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. You joined at 5:45 and we did the approval right before then, and then you joined right after. So you were absent for that, but present for the rest.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
So you're okay with the minutes from last meeting, Bob?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Public comment on topics that are not listed on the agenda. This is a time when a member of the public may comment on something that is not on the agenda. I will ask Sharon or Emily to read any public comments that were submitted prior to the meeting. After that, I will ask if any members of the public would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda. If you would like to make a comment about something that is listed on the agenda, please hold your comment until that time. If a member of the public would like to make a comment now or something that is not on the agenda, please press your raise hand button, or if you're joining on phone, just press *9. The village's public comment rules limit comments to 3 minutes.
Deputy, we did get one public comment by email. It's related to the speaker series, so I'm happy to read that now or when we get to that item on the agenda.
Yeah, please go ahead and read it now.
Okay. And I don't see any comments from attendees raising their hands, so this may be our only public comment. The comment is from Miles Mendoza. He writes, I appreciate the committee's intent to bring Glencoe together in the spirit of diversity and inclusion, and would like to ask to be involved in the speaker series. I believe you believe your intent here is for the good, for the liberation of oppressed minorities, but it is important to get the content of the event right to ensure Glencoe is not just infusing identity politics into government and in turn creating tremendous distrust in the township from a good portion of citizens not aligned with your beliefs. Important here is the creation of an event that facilitates a true civic square where adults can respectfully process issues related to a diversity in a civil manner and allowing representatives from both sides of the aisle and in between too. Such an event can be a great step forward for our community that you as individuals can take to make things better and to end the tension and division all too frequent throughout our country. I'd love to participate in an event that seeks to promote a culture that values respectful dialogue rooted in an American understanding of human dignity and respect, that opposes bullying, shaming, and canceling as a means to control the outcome. The healing of racial and ethnic divisions begins with the recognition of our common humanity and the right for each and every person to be treated fairly and with dignity. Please let me know if I can help make Glencoe a better, more inclusive community that respects all diversity by participating in the development of the speaker series. Respectfully, Miles. And that is the end of his comment.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Okay. Let's jump into our agenda, and there's actually a lot that we want to talk about, but given the essence of time, let's take 15 minutes for our event that's coming up next, which is our town hall, and then we'll take another 15 minutes to go through some of the other planned events for our future and some ideas that are coming up, and then we can speak about those. So for the group that is leading our next town hall, I would like to give you guys the opportunity to give us an update on how it's going, and if you have any plans solidified, if you'd like to share. And Sharon, I know that there was an email that Anise shared. Do you want to put that on the screen, or do you want me to put that on? I'd be happy to if you don't have that ready.
Sorry, I had to toggle over to my mute button there. If you'd like to share it, that's perfect. That's certainly fine.
Okay.
I apologize. I was engaged in something else just before the meeting, so I don't know that I reviewed that email.
Oh, it's just a definition, so it's
Okay.
It's just easier to view when it's on the screen. So I have to email it to myself, my work ID, so I can bring it up on my laptop. So Anise, why don't you get or you know,
Yep.
any of the other group members get started, and as soon as I see it, I will definitely bring it up.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So we came up with a
Hey,
panel.
Anise, would you like to introduce the we? Like who's working with you?
Raphael, Bob, and I. The we gang. We came up with a panel and some ideas that I think are cool. and I hope you guys do too. I don't really know how this goes exactly, and maybe this is information to have in the future for people that are reading it. Like, if we come up with a panel and you guys are like, oh, that's horrible, how does that work? But hopefully you'll think this is fabulous. We were talking about doing a panel, a town hall panel on ableism. We think it fits into the DEI initiative in terms of all the different ways: diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a definition up here so that we all can just be working from the same working definition of what ableism is. But in short, it's when you look through the lens of the world as an able person, and purposefully or more often unpurposefully, don't consider how going through life might feel for someone who is differently abled. So the you can read it at your leisure, but basically the three panelists we had, we hope will cover a vast swath of stories, perspectives, and professional experience. We have, I'm gonna have this emailed to all of you guys afterwards. We have Damian Buckman, who is someone that I know who as a child had cancer. So he was born perfectly abled. He had cancer. If you looked at him, you would never know. He's had over 80 something surgeries on both of his knees. I believe he had bone cancer. He's established a nonprofit called the Ability Center. That information will also be emailed to you, where he helps advocate on behalf of people with disabilities. And also he's an athlete, and so he does a lot in the world of sports with kids and adults, wheelchair sports, and other ways to give them opportunities to participate in things that they otherwise wouldn't. He's also an advocate in terms of getting access for people, getting ramps and things like that. He resides in Wisconsin, and I know him through the oncology work that I've done. He was a oncology camper, not of mine, but who has turned into quite a force in the disability community. The second person is a woman named Danny Chitwood. I don't have my, oh, here are my glasses. That's such an old person move. She's the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the United Cerebral Palsy of Greater Chicago. Even though she's under the umbrella name around cerebral palsy, she covers a very wide swath of disability advocacy. And I have her bio and a link to her organization. It's not her organization, but who she works for, also in the email that'll be sent to you. And then the third person is Emily Mizell, who the name might sound familiar because we have a Mizell on our council, daughter-in-law of Amy. And Emily specializes in working with older populations, specifically in Glencoe, and also working with older adults that are living with dementia. And she's super passionate about the subject matter. What I really liked with talking with her is that she has a topography lay of the land of Glencoe and has actionable items that, you know, we can think about and look at, and think about the perspective of what it would be like to visit, live, and work in Glencoe if you were an older person. One of the things the three of us talked about and feel strongly around is that instead of having one of us, sorry for all the background noise, my son is finally doing dishes and he has to do it while I'm talking. Is that the person that would moderate this would be someone who specializes in the area of working with these populations, advocating on behalf of able, disabled populations, differently abled. There are all kinds of words out there, which is also something that that our panelists will explore, because people in the ability, disability, differently abled community don't all agree. So it's a really interesting swath of speakers, and the person that I talked to Emily. She suggested that I contact Amber Bond, who's a clinical director at Glencoe Family Services, for her to facilitate and moderate, between the audience and reading questions, introducing the panel. And yeah, that's the panel pitch. And then I have other stuff, but want to put that out there and get feedback from you guys and see what you think about all that.
To work off that, we've also secured dates with Writers Theater. Dates that would work best are the first, I believe, 2 weeks in February. I don't have my notes in front of me.
The 1st and the 8th.
Thank you. We felt that the holiday hangover may preclude people because of either traveling or because of other family commitments. January may not work, so February is the date that we wanted to concentrate on, and we already have a confirmation of those 3 panelists that they can attend, and Writers Theater can accommodate us on that date. There were some other ideas that we were trying to bring up or introduce as perhaps part of a Village Hall meeting, but this one really caught my attention because for me, it's a demographic or a group of people that I normally don't hear from. We have a gentleman with bone cancer who went from being able to having, I was told, the Guinness Book of World Records for surgeries on a leg because of his bone cancer that he survived. We have an advocate for a group of cerebral palsy, of which I am embarrassed to admit that I don't think I know anyone that has it, nor can I comprehend the difficulties that they have or their caregivers have when they are taking them out in public. And finally, a representative from Glencoe Family Services who works with the older adult population, those that have needs because of their age and not necessarily because of a disability from birth or accident. For my interpretation of what this committee is about, and same with DEI, it's to give a voice not only to those groups that are racial or religious category, but also a group that don't necessarily get attention. And the other group that I think was more caught my attention was that of the older, the senior citizens, I don't know if that term's right, of our village. And more importantly, how through her eyes and through her clients' opinions are pros and cons on all 3 of these peoples as far as navigating society, whether that be Glencoe, Highland Park, Chicago, it doesn't really matter. The other idea that we floated around that we weren't getting as a quick a response was basically generating a town hall meeting of what the meaning of DEI is, the purpose of it. Loyola University has a program in DEI. I know that North Country Day School even brought on a DEI counselor advisor, and it was just something that we had thought about maybe bringing up as a form of discussion to give a better understanding of what the goal of diversity, equity, inclusion really means. But to be quite honest, Anise has been a rock star on this. She has made a lot of contacts and calls, and the forum being about that of people with handicaps or disabilities, I think is something that not only do we have a strong lead for a panel as well as a moderator, but it's also a situation or a subject that I don't hear often about, and then we thought that would be advantageous.
So just looking for like your guys' feedback, and then just a couple of other things.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think the topic is on point, and I really excited by the speakers you guys have already lined up. I think it's great.
Yeah, great ideas, great work. Pretty much have it wrapped up already. I mean, that's fantastic.
Now, don't say that, Gary, because now you're going to jinx us, and something's going to happen in the next 30, 40 days because you said that, and I don't need that bad.
No, I
It's all gonna
won't
be
take
fine.
that pressure. I won't take that pressure. I was just complimenting you on having, checked all these boxes so quickly and put this together.
Yeah, I think the panel, it's really a varying perspective, right? It's not just in narrowly focused, and I think that's really good.
Yeah, I like the ableism idea, and I like the panelists and the moderator. I just want to make sure that the dates have been vetted by the village, just to make sure that we don't have any overlaps or anything in our community or any of our, maybe the clergy association.
Yeah, I talked with the clergy association and I talked with the village, and so that knocked out the 15th because there was a village conflict. And then Barbara confirmed that at this point there's nothing. She said, I can't promise there won't be anything ever, but like right now those dates look good. So really just as a committee, as a whole, we can decide if we want the 1st or the 8th. Those are both earmarked for us. What do you guys prefer? Yes, Amy.
So just 2 things. I as far as a date, I would just, I don't have the school schedule, but that that was President's Day. I don't know when they celebrate it, and that kind of breaks. So just as long as we're not.
It's not President. Why I know it's not President's Day? Because I'm leading the 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip on President's Day weekend. So I know it's not President's Day weekend.
That's going to be memorable. I have stories about those over the years, but that'll be great. And then my only other thought, I agree with everybody. It's I think the panel you've got, I think the approach is wonderful. I would just think about the title ableism, because I think it is not well known enough to possibly draw as much as we want. So maybe and go with it however you think best. But I just kept tossing around things like, unseen obstacles or unseen obstacles and opportunities, or something that might tease people's interest if they don't know that terminology. So
what I was hoping to do is I want to connect all 3 panelists together. We want to put them all in an email together and let them all know what each other is doing, and then run by them like some ideas. I'm using, we're using the term ableism right now because that's what it's about. But I think you're right. I don't think that everyone's familiar, with the terminology. And so it's not called ableism. It's just sort of throwing it out there so you guys know it. We're all on the same page with the definition.
Great, thanks. But congratulations, really nicely pulled together.
So
I completely agree.
wanted to
Go ahead, Dippy.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I completely agree. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I think it's a topic that most people in the village, if it may not impact them directly, but they likely know somebody that it impacts, and it could really spur, I think, a lot of interest if we market it as Amy said, in a way where people understand what the topic is. So great idea, great job. If you need any help with any of it, I know I'm not on the core group, but as it gets closer, if there are things you need assistance with, just let me know. I'm happy to help.
That'd be great.
Anise, did you send to all the members of the council the explanation of ableism from the National Council of Independent Living?
I sent the Wikipedia version because it was more condensed, but certainly I can send that to Sharon and she can send that to everyone.
Yeah, I think that would be very, very helpful. The National Council used to be a client of mine, and I urge all of you to read its definition of ableism, which is the equivalent of using the word racism. So it's very important that you read it.
So is it any different from what was shared earlier in the meeting?
Well, I would urge you to read it.
It just had, I sent that to Bob and Raphael, and it just had some examples, some like working examples, macro, micro, like those kinds of things. So I'm happy to share.
Yeah, it would
share
be great if you can share that with
Yeah.
everyone. You know, we should all be on the same page. I agree. You know, what I've been thinking is this would be a really nice way of showing that we're taking action from our previous town halls. Because in our first town hall, we had Family Services of Glencoe as one of our panelists. And the director at the time had, gosh, why can't I remember his name right off the, somebody help me.
Bill Hanson.
Bill Hanson, oh my gosh, thank you, had presented from a Family Services of Glencoe perspective a lot about what they work on, and mostly it is working with seniors or people with mental illness or dementia or some sort of disability. And it was really nice because it was such a diverse panel, and that he had brought that up. And I remember us wondering how we can take that forward or do something out of it. And I almost feel like this is an action item that came out of it, and we are doing something to educate our community and get involvement from our community so people understand and realize what actually ableism is and how people live and what they have to go through. So I mean, I think this is an action out of that, and I'm happy to see one action come out of one of our town halls. So
Great. Well, speaking of action, Hillary put together a feedback form for the town hall. And we sent that to Sharon and Dipti to take a look-see. And so our fantasy is that this feedback form could go up with a recording of the last town hall. Like maybe there could be a link to it with the feedback form. So even if someone wasn't there, if they missed it, if they didn't know what happened, it's a reminder it did. Maybe they want to go back and review it. And then we can get some feedback. And then the second fantasy was that along with that feedback form, at the bottom, there could be something, ongoing that would show up. I would like to see the council have more presence. Like even when I go to look for us for something, I have a hard time navigating and finding where we are like in things. And so it might be cool if there was just some kind of running link to us on the village website. And in that link, it could say, hey, tell us how we're doing. Let us know, what more we can do, something like that. Anyway, Hillary put it together. She did a much better job than I'm babbling. So that's the fantasy. And then the other thing, oh, and also like basically.
you're frozen. Anise.
And
you
what
froze
else
there
was-
for a minute, Anise. We missed the last 30 seconds. Oh, she's frozen again.
Everybody's frozen and I'm not.
Okay, no,
Okay.
you were frozen and now you're okay.
Okay. So anyway, so that was that. And do you want to talk about it, Hillary?
Not too much to say, but it was a nice summary. It was a nice summary. I think one of the things that we're grappling with, Anise and Dipti and others throughout the last 12 months or so is what feedback should we solicit? How should we solicit it? What are we going to do with the information when we get it? And so we're looking at this sort of data piece from a few different angles. Some of you might remember the survey, which is something else that is sort of coming up again. And I think that they're all related pieces. We're trying to develop a better picture of what our community looks like. What do the residents feel is going right? What are the residents feel is going wrong? Where are the areas for improvement? Is there, are the perspectives of residents different from the perspectives of visitors, whether they be people employed in the village or people who just come around town? And if so, in what ways? And does that matter to us? So, I think we have this mandate from the board, the village board, and it's excellent, but we need to do a lot of ground softening with our community before, as we've seen with town halls, there are many different perspectives, and it's important that we honor all of those different perspectives as we proceed with our work. And we don't know what they are if we don't ask. So I hope that helps.
That actually, so it's a segue into our next topics, with all, I have a list of, based on just speaking with you guys individually or just from the past, what we've had. So we do have that. But before we jump into that, I just want to bring up what John said and volunteering to help with anything. What I would suggest for the core group is to make a running list. It could even be the smallest item on the list, but just make a running list of everything that you would need done from now until the town hall and the day of the town hall. And just, basically just a task list, just and you've got volunteers ready to help. So I would suggest just come up with that, make sure it's all included. It doesn't have to be right away. You have time still, but share it with the rest of the group and have people kind of put their names next to it, because, I think that everyone would really like to help in some way or the other, even if it's the smallest thing and coming and just, standing at the desk over there on the day of the event, or, it could be small things, but just, I would really take that opportunity since John had just brought that up. So,
excuse me, just to be clear, we have not yet followed up with emails to the people who attended in person or online the September town hall. Is that correct?
So let me respond to that. We do not have the ability to collect email addresses for people who attended online because registration was not required in Zoom. So unfortunately, we don't have that. We're pulling together the list of folks who attended in person. What I might suggest is that, given that we're now a couple of months since then, maybe we start the survey on a going forward basis for the next one. So that way we can be sure we're putting in place the processes to capture email addresses from attendees should they wish to share them. And then also that way too, we can routinize that step in our process, and we can get that out to people while it's still very fresh in their minds.
Sharon, do you think that
we
can-
do have, just to be clear, we do have the email addresses of some of the people who attended the September program, correct?
I believe that was taken down. I wasn't there. I was still on leave at that point. So we're working through that, Bob.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm glad that you are, because they might well be attendees at the next town hall.
Absolutely.
So I would urge us to write to them when we have some questions to ask them. I would not forget them.
Yep, your point is well taken. Thank you.
Sharon,
And Sharon,
I have a question on that. Are we allowed to take registrations, have people register ahead of time?
We can. Yeah, we can. It depends on how we set up Zoom. If we're using Zoom, maybe that would be a good conversation to take offline. It is about 6:15, and I know Dipti, you asked me to be the official timekeeper. So
thank you.
Something like that is more granular logistics. So maybe we can look into that offline.
Okay. I'll leave it up to the core group to, put that on as maybe a discussion if they want to have that discussion, but it was just something that came to mind if we want to capture the email addresses. Okay, well, thank you, Anise. Sorry, Anise, you were saying something earlier, and
no, I was just going to say, if we did want to revisit the old group, we could just post the past town hall and say, hey, we didn't forget about you. We just, whatever. I don't know, however you do that. And then post the town hall and say, if you haven't seen it, take a look. If you have seen it, we want your feedback. We're sorry we didn't get this out sooner. We care about what you think, and just do it. I mean, we could online.
Well, why don't you guys talk through it, and then, if you need ideas, bounce it off of the rest, or, with Sharon. So thanks, guys. This is really exciting. Thank you for all your hard work, and you've made so much progress. Really exciting. So I have a bunch of things on the list. We had gone through this. I've talked to some of you about those as our plan for anything coming up next. So, the nice thing is that we have a cadence and we have a regular a program that we do, every 3 or 4 months, like every quarter, we do a town hall, and that's great. But we should start thinking about some of the other things that we want to do. And there's a lot of things that were discussed today that actually are on the list. So it might just make sense to, we don't have to come to a decision today, but it may be, just take it in, take it back. And, there's always email if you're our phone. So if you're interested, pick up the phone, text me, call me, email, and we can, move forward with that. But, we talked about our speaker series, continuing our speaker series that we stopped in the summer because we had, 2 meetings a month. And Sharon and I were actually talking about that because we just wanted to see, so the reason we did the 2 meetings in the beginning was because this was brand new. We had no structure, and we were trying to put structure, right? We were trying to start from scratch. We had our mission statement, our goals. We were working through ideas of what we want to do. So we thought it's better if we meet more often. But now that we have things rolling with everything going on and everyone's time, we don't want to exhaust everyone. So what we thought is, we could identify, just like we have town halls, we can identify a cadence to have maybe 2 speakers in a year, so where we actually ask for the budget. So this is our time to put our budgets together, right? And we could ask or set aside some budget and ask for that if we're going to have, say, 2 speakers in a year to come and speak with us as a community. So it doesn't even have to be just a part of our meeting. We could do it just like Raphael, you were saying earlier about, someone talking about DE and I, so that we are all on the same page, or, I mean, we initially, you were not part of this group, but initially our group did go through a training like that with, a professional come in and train us. So if we have to do a speaker series, if you may, with the town hall going on every quarter, I think maybe 2 speakers is, I feel like sufficient, but may even be too much if we want to do some of the other things that I had written down. But just wanted to put that out there, that instead of doing 2 meetings a month and calling it like our meetings, where we are all expected to be there, right? I mean, it's a meeting of the council, so we have to attend, et cetera, et cetera. So I just don't want everyone to burn out and feel like this is too much, because we all have so much in our lives, So if we can conduct business once a month, that's great. And then we could probably have, and I see your hand, Anise, just give me 1 second. And then we probably could have just 2 speakers that we organize, have an organized moment and have them come in. Yeah, Anise, you wanted to say something?
Hi, we didn't pick a date. We need to pick a date so that I can email the panelists.
Oh, I didn't know the expectation was to decide the date today.
Well, we only have 2, and I need to let the Writers Theater know as well. And I want to let the village know, obviously, and then the congregational team.
What's your deadline for the Writers Theater?
We want to know as soon as possible. So if anyone knows right now, for sure, if they're going to be out of town February 1st, February 8th, just let us know right now, or send Anise or myself or Bob an email saying whatever. But I mean, the first and the 8th.
I have no preference. Personally, I can tell you, if the school calendar has been looked at, the village calendar has been looked at, we're good. I mean, I have no personal preference, so I'm okay with whatever the rest of you want to go with.
Okay, I'll look at the school calendar because other than President's Day, I didn't really think beyond that. So I'll look at the school calendar, even though I have 4 kids, whatever, I have other things to think about. But I will look, and if the school calendar doesn't, whatever, then I guess Raphael, Bob, and I will just diplomatically decide. And we'll let everyone know.
Perfect.
Sorry, but I wanted to take care of that.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so that's the speaker. If there are no questions on the speaker series, we can always decide how many we want, 1 or 2. But does that kind of make sense to everyone instead of kind of forcing everyone to do this 2 meetings a month?
Dipti, are you suggesting that the speakers would be public events or okay?
Yeah, like for our community. So I'll tell you one thing, we struggle getting our community members to join our meetings. It's very difficult. We usually don't have that many people, and it's bothersome because if we're going to do these things, we'd like more community members to be there. So if we do it outside of like our village meeting and just do it as a community event where we're then not kind of, I mean, I don't know, Sharon, maybe we do have to follow some of those Open Meetings Act, but at least for the most part, like we can do a lot more of the marketing, etc. I see Gary laughing.
If it's a community event, to where you're just having a speaker come present to the community, maybe there's somebody from the council introducing the speaker, that in itself would not constitute a public meeting because you are not conducting business. And you are not discussing the business of the council. So that gives us a bit of flexibility in a couple of regards. One, it's not something that we have to notice in the same way that we do for these, although we would certainly promote it because we want people to attend. We don't have to take meeting minutes. We don't have to call roll. The other thing that I'll mention is right now, and since many of the team members here have been part of the council, we've been meeting by Zoom. That is not our norm for being able to conduct our business meetings under the Open Meetings Act. Normally it is in person, but as Dipti has appropriately prefaced each meeting, we're operating in a virtual meeting environment under authority that we have temporarily from the state. That could change at some point in the future. So when that happens, we'll be gathering together in person and meeting in person. So that's another thing to keep in mind too, as it relates to whether you want to have a formal meeting, which everyone would need to attend in person in the future. So that's some of the background. Sorry for the long-winded explanation. We are at 6:23 and I don't want to take any more of the time.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. So
you put me in charge of timekeeping, right?
Yes, and you're doing a great job. This is what we need. So I'm really happy.
You gave me a job. I'm going to do it.
Yes, Margot. I see your hand is up.
On that note, Sharon, I thought that Dipti said in her prologue that this order allowing us to meet by Zoom expires on November 13th. So this would be our last Zoom meeting and we'd go back to in person, or we'll wait and find out.
To be determined. More recently, the state has been, or the executive orders have been issued on generally a monthly basis. So we will find out more in the coming weeks if that gets extended or renewed and on what time frame.
Okay, sounds good. So the only thing that I'd like to ask is to have a couple of people volunteer to lead the speaker series, take it on, just do some research, figure out what's out there, what kind of speakers we would like to have to come to a community, how we would conduct it, and et cetera, et cetera. If someone would like to take that on, that would be great.
I can do that.
Great. Thanks, John. Anybody wants to help John? Anyways, we're all here, so reach out. Amy, okay. Thank you, Amy. The second thing I wanted to talk about is, I know we've spoken about this before. Reverend Gary had actually brought this up for our summer of 2021 event, something for the community, bringing everyone together in a fun way. So yes, we're educating the community, we're doing town halls, we're doing all of that, but also something fun, something lighthearted, something to bring everyone together with you know, whether it's games or food or crafts or, you know, culture, whatever it is, you know. So I would like to bring that up again and see if we can make that feasible and possible this summer. And Reverend Gary, we'll invite you for sure, since this was like your idea. And if it really comes to life, you'd want to be there, I'm sure. So, you know, if we want to do something in the summer, this is the time to say yay or nay, because we have no time otherwise. And if we want to say yay, then we can, you know, have a group ready to get moving on it. So, you know, of course, the details of exactly what it is are, you know, there's a whole bunch of lists, you know, that people have thrown out ideas about. So it's just a matter of, you know, nailing down, working with the village, because we're going to have to work very closely with the village on this one, because we're going to need a lot of help from them, obviously, everything. However, you know, it might be a fun way to get people together and get, like, you know, meeting and talking, and, you know, it's summer. So anybody want to help?
My vote is yes, and I can throw my hat in to help with the planning or with the idea making.
Okay.
So long as it's based on food or drink. That's my only stipulation.
Well, I know, like, who were we talking? I can't remember who I was talking to, and we came up with this idea of having like a taste of Glencoe. Like, who was saying that? I can't even remember. We were having a conversation, like, casually. Was that you? Oh, I was gonna say, there you go. All right, Raphael, it's all yours, and form your team. So reach out, and, you know, I'm sure everyone will be happy, whoever you reach out to join your team. So form your team.
Happy to help, Raphael.
Sorry, I'll be happy to help too.
I want to help with that.
There you go. Now you have lots of people volunteering. And actually, I think this would be a whole council thing. Everyone's going to need to work on this. This is going to be a big one. So if we're all good to go, that's a great summer event to put on our calendar. So yeah. Sorry, Sharon.
Thank you for the mention of working closely with staff. Raphael and team, let's plan to visit offline as you start to have some ideas that kind of gel. Because something like a special event is going to have more of a lift for village staff.
Right.
So let's be sure that we're working closely on what that looks like, logistics, and talk that through before we commit ourselves to something. So that way we can be sure we're resourcing it appropriately.
Are you talking about the town hall?
No, the summer event.
Oh, you said me. I was like the only person that didn't raise my hand.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I will totally help, but it's okay.
No, I'm sorry, Anise. I am, under caffeinated these days. So I'm looking at you, and Hillary raised her hand, and it's just, yeah.
You're excused with everything, Sharon. So don't even apologize.
Oh, you all are too kind. Thank you.
Just a real quick thought, and I know it's a long ways away next summer, but any thought, and mull on it, but any thoughts around maybe doing this thing around the time the village is already getting together, like 4th of July or the art fair, just so we get more people drawn to it, because people will be out and about already. Or it could be something separate, like maybe at the parade or the 4th of July down by the
join Raphael's group, Vivek.
Okay.
join his committee. Sorry, I'm trying to keep us on track. I'm trying to move on. I know that you have ideas, so that's why join Raphael's group and let's hash it out and get our ideas going. Because I know that this is going to be, we're going to start at this point, and by the time we end up, it's going to look like completely different. So it'll be fun. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I do need to have my wet blanket moment. Before the committee gets too large, we just need to keep in mind the Open Meetings Act and how many people can be working together simultaneously. So Raphael, why don't I follow up with you offline? And then once you've got your committee, and maybe it's a couple of different subcommittees, maybe there's some people working on one aspect and some working on another, but that's my wet blanket moment. I will stop talking now.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us about that. Number 3 on the list is, Hillary brought it up earlier. So we've talked about a survey in our community. We've talked about this, I think from day one. I remember, like, we've always seen, how do we reach out to the community and find out what they feel, what is their feeling about what's going on in Glencoe. And Rafael got me in touch with a really good friend of his who's this super woman. She runs like a lot of programs, especially related to DEI at UIC, and is doing something in her town as well, in Bolingbrook. And she wanted ideas about, because they're not like ready to put their council together, but we already have our council going. However, they've already done the survey and everything. And I'm like, oh, and that's something we haven't even started yet. So Hillary and her name is Joy, we're going to get together just to kind of get some ideas. So I just wanted to let you all know that we have kind of just brought that survey topic out again, based on like how these conversations go. And like, I think Hillary would know more about the feasibility of and how we want to do it tailored to Glencoe, but it's like too soon to say anything. And Hillary, if you have anything to add, please feel free to.
No, I would just say that I reached out to Joy. She was very responsive. Dipti and I just had this conversation on Monday. So Joy and I did not have enough time to get our acts together, mostly because I couldn't get my act together, but we have connected on that. And then I think it speaks to sort of, in addition to what I already said about ground softening and temperature taking and all of those things, I think it also relates to sort of this other piece that kind of nags in the back of my mind around making sure that we benchmark off of other communities doing this work. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, and we're all moving at different paces and in different ways. And so if there's a community that has successfully mounted a survey, let's talk to them and find out more about that. What did you gain? What would you have done differently, et cetera? Along those lines, tonight, actually, starting right now in Wilmette, there is a community conversation happening. It was sponsored by their Rotary group. So I've reached out to them. I want to find out more about why they decided to do this. They're working in concert with the Wilmette Human Relations Committee, which is our sort of peer group in Wilmette. And I think the more that we can learn from others doing this work, the better our results will be. So that's all I would add.
Thank you.
Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but within the past year, didn't the village sign a contract and implement a survey, an online survey program? I remember getting 1 or 2 surveys. Am I remembering that correctly, Sharon?
Yeah, good memory. We were using a product called Flash Vote, which is kind of quick bite surveys. It's intended to be just a couple of quick take the pulse questions. It's not a lengthy survey tool, so we'd be happy to help with thinking through the scope of the survey, a survey tool. We'd want to dialogue on budget if this is something that we're going to have as a professionally done survey. We also do a community survey every few years. So there may be opportunities depending on timing to consolidate those. So Hillary, maybe that's an offline conversation you and I can have, but great memory.
I'll reach out to you, Sharon.
Yep,
thank you. And thank you, Bob. That's super helpful.
You're welcome.
So again, Hillary is kind of taking the lead on that. So if anybody has ideas, wants to reach out, please reach out to Hillary or myself. Hillary, I'll help you on that because I'm also talking to Joy. So we're kind of hand in hand on that as well. But if anybody wants to contribute in any way, please feel free to reach out to Hillary. Then the next thing on the list is, sorry, the list is going on and on, but I'm so excited about doing all these things. 2023 is going to, or 2022 is going to be a wonderful year, I think. So Joy actually has conducted focus groups, which is very different from town halls and having a speaker come in, right? I mean, these are these are real people. These are the people that are like there to speak their mind, or what they feel or how they feel. And she's a professional. She obviously has a fee for how she conducts it and all of that. However, having conducted those and knowing like what questions to ask, what is included in the focus group, what kind of people do we invite, and things like that, I think it's really great. First of all, it's inclusive for sure. There's no doubt about that. And second, it helps us learn more about what people in our community think. They could be people who reside here or who come to work here. They could be managers, they could be employees. It's just a mix of people. So I don't know like many details in that sense. However, I'm working with her, see if she can give our village a proposal, of some sort, and then maybe we can start working through that with Sharon, because I know that the village has a lot of rules around, having outside people come in. So, however, it's a thought, and if this group is willing and excited to have a focus group in our community, we could make that like a once a year event.
Dipti, will this be, sorry, I wasn't clear on the details. You're proposing that we hire someone to conduct a focus group of some size amongst residents and people who work in Glencoe about their views related to what specifically, what they think we should be doing, what their thoughts are on DEI. I mean, where are you going with it?
So, good question. We did not get to that detail. I'll be honest with you. I've only had one conversation with her, but there were a lot of ideas that were being thrown out. And one of the like, basically my question to her was, we're struggling trying to get in touch with our community. It's really difficult where we feel like we're really not in touch with the community. We're not able to get that kind of a feel from them. So how do we attract them and how are we able to connect? And so one of the ideas that came up was a focus group. Now, the specifics of it on what we want, like the specific, obviously it's going to be around inclusion, right? But we don't know if are we going to call them to speak about their experience on how they get treated, or how is their experience at their work, or how do they feel when they live here, or how do their kids feel here as living here, going to the schools. There's like a variety of things. And I don't know if the focus group is very like black and white with like just that one topic. I feel like a focus group is very fluid, and it kind of goes with the flow along with how many people there are, first of all, and how they're interacting with each other, because I know like they have breakout sessions and stuff like that, where they have smaller groups that talk to each other. And so, I mean, this is about the best I know right now, Gary. We don't have much, but you're welcome to join the committee or lead the committee for the focus group. And that way we can start to build it into something. Yeah, Amy.
So my thoughts are, I've had a lot of experience with focus groups, agree that they can be extremely helpful. I think it's a bigger topic than the time we have here. So I feel like it's a second conversation, but just very briefly, I do think it should be moderated by somebody who knows how to do it. So I'm a fan of that. I don't think annual probably makes sense. It's a little too frequent. You don't have time to do enough, between one to the next. So, you probably want to do one at some point and then see how you go with it. But I'd say, yeah, it needs some kind of, direction. But in this little sandwich of time, I don't think we can. I'd say, how could we argue until we know more, right? Yeah, I think we'd want to and more.
Yeah, this is just, really initial, like one conversation. However, I just wanted to bring it up here, want you guys to think about it. Maybe not having a cadence of having it every year, but at least there's a start. So unless we do it once, we won't know. And, maybe it's something that we want to do on our own afterwards, not really have to pay. Maybe we learn from it, but I just feel like it's nice that there's a professional who does this, and I just don't know how much he charges. So we have to first figure that out and get an idea. So I haven't had a chance to talk to her about that. But anyways, I wanted to put that out there. Then the last thing on the list, God, the list keeps going on. Sharon, you should have told me I don't need to put so many things on the list, but the last thing on the list is going back to what Anise was saying about, having that more presence out there for us, having the links to our, piece on the, I won't say it's our site, but to our piece on the site, and, having the ability to have people kind of connect with us through that and stuff like that. So that brings us to, and I know we've talked about this before in our past meetings, our whole marketing and that whole idea of how do we, market ourselves. So, beefing up our website, doing the decals and et cetera that Anise was talking about, or, like we need to, if we want to do this right. And the thing is, we are very dependent on the village's website, right? So having to look for their resources and use their resources would be a lot. So when Sharon and I talked about it, it probably would be better if we kind of lead it, and then we just work with one of the staff members to make sure like everything is as the village would want it to be. So if we're going to publish anything on the site, but at least we can design it the way we want it to be. And, today, if you go there, some places say forum, some places say council, none of our photos are there. The people there, I don't even recognize anybody on our page. So I have no idea who these people are. Even our mission statement doesn't seem to be there, so yes, I see 3 hands. I'm going to stop talking now. Go ahead, Hillary or Amy or Anise, whoever wants to go first.
No.
Amy was first.
No, I don't. I think I was still a holdover. Sorry, I have nothing to say. Sorry.
Anise?
Well, you're unmuted. Go ahead, Hillary. You go ahead.
Somebody go ahead.
So what I would say is that I think relating back to the event that we've discussed for this summer, these are similar activities, and I don't know if that is intuitive to all of you, but this is a space that I've spent a lot of time in, and even as far as Anise's decal that she had proposed, when I started to write in my notes here about the event this summer, I immediately drew an arrow back to following up with Anise about the decal, because I think you can start to develop a graphic identity. It helps people to connect the dots a little bit about the work that we're doing, why it's important, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would just say we might consider this marketing piece another subcommittee of the event, or the event is probably really a subcommittee of the marketing committee, but we need to make sure that first and foremost we're working with the village, as you said, but also that we're working with one another so that we're not on different tracks.
Oh yeah, totally. I agree with that. Yeah, that's a good point. But what I was proposing is maybe if we have a marketing committee, then every event we have, we work with that marketing committee to make sure then, like you said, Hillary, that we are engaging to make, because like a website update, for example, it's not related to any event, but it is something that needs to be done. And I know, yes, sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I like I was just saying, resources to just expect the village to just take it on to do it is, harder. However, if we take it on and then just, work with the village to say, okay, we've already come up with this, and then all they have to do is approve, yay, nay, and then do all the formalities of getting it on the site is a lot easier. So
we can certainly work together on that. so that we're, as Deputy had mentioned, following the village's style standards. Again, I'm full of wet blanket moments tonight, so forgive me. Things like that, but also too, just so that there's some consistency with how we structure the page and things like that, the mechanics of it. On the comment of logos, several years ago, there was some work that a prior iteration of this group had done to think about logos and imaging. We still have the artwork for that. I'm happy to bring that back at a future meeting to share with the group or to send it out in advance. So you can get a feel for that, and I can walk through what some of the thought process was behind it at that time. Again, I don't want to distract from the conversation. We're at about 6:15. Dipti, I just wanted to make mention of that for timekeeping this evening, but happy to bring that back for a future meeting.
Okay, yeah, yeah. We don't have to like discuss everything in detail today, but yes, Elise, I know you
What
have
I
a hand.
wanted to say was, we've talked about this like several times, and I think you just have to have the hammer with it, Dipti. That we should have mini bios up with like our picture, not like graduated from such and such and got my
No,
such and
agree,
such,
agree.
but like
Let's,
something that humanizes us, you know, makes us like, shows that we're accessible people, shows a photo. I think that you should say, I want however many sentences and your picture by this date, and then just, we gotta do it,
well,
because
that's why
otherwise
we
it's gonna
need,
be like,
we need,
oh, you know.
no, we
it'll
need a,
float.
we need a subcommittee for that. And I'd like
We
to take
do?
this. Yes, because we need a couple of people to start working on that so that it's not, you know, kind of like out there, somebody else will do it. And so that's important, just like anything else, because this is also a project that needs to be done. And, you know, your point taken, Anise, you do want to have, you know, a bio there, and that's all detail. I don't want to go into the detail of the house and what we want to put in there, but if we have a group that says, yep, let's take this on, that's why I wanted to put this out there. If everyone's in agreement that we want to start this, take this on, then let's, you know, let's start forming something so
Well,
that,
can I just
because I
can
don't
ask
work with a hammer. I don't work with a hammer. I work with my words, and I. So I really would like
what
to
I
get
just
people.
mean is, like, I think that we just need some concrete deadlines. Like, I like, if we all submit 3 sentences to one person with a photo, and, you know, people show their personalities however they want to, and that's collected by one person, and then, you know, edited for grammar, I guess, and then sent to, I don't know, Sharon or Emily, I don't know, and then it gets put up. I'm not sure why we need a committee for that.
Because
I'm
it's
happy
not
to be
only
the,
about bios, it's about a lot of things. If you go to the site, there's a lot of things that are not on there that I really
well,
think we
I'm
should
not talking
have.
about that. I'm just talking about bios. I'm talking about like at the
I know,
most
so
basic
you're
level.
looking at that. I'm looking at the bigger picture. So what I'm trying to say is, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right, and we're going to do this at the level of what we want our council to look like when someone goes to our site. So it's not just the bios are a big part of it, but then also there's other things in there that are a big part of it as well. We don't have our mission statement on there. You know, we don't have our upcoming events on there. We don't have any, like, we don't have anything that we've done in the past out there. We have some places calling it council, some places calling it.
If I might, let staff take a pass through that. We are due on website content refresh on a lot of our pages. That is a staff responsibility. We will take a pass through to clean up the name change. There are some older documents that are on our site. We can certainly add the mission statement. This is probably a conversation for another day to talk about kind of format and structure. We do have all of the council members listed by name on the website as it is today. We have links to the Getting to Know the Heart of Glencoe. So there is content on the website. We're certainly happy to add more to it and refresh. So it's good dialogue, but I do perhaps worry that we're getting a little too granular this evening.
Exactly. I don't want to get granular, but what I'm trying to say is there's a lot more to it than just a little piece. So I want someone, and I'm willing to take that on. I'll work with you, Sharon, but I want to be able to have that whole, the whole thing. So, if I have to solicit for everyone's bios, that's fine, getting all that on, but there's a lot more than bios. So I just want to make sure that everyone's aware.
Yeah, I would just want to add that we are appointed by the president of the village board. We are responsible to the president for making recommendations. I also want to add that I believe the village does an excellent job in terms of its websites. So to think of doing something that is apart in any way from the village, I think is a distraction that we do not need.
Who said it's apart, Bob? Who said we're doing something apart from what the village does on the website?
Well, it sounds like you're moving in the direction of, I would work with the village to increase our presence on the village website. They do good work. It's a distraction.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the village website and what's on there.
Thank you,
We're not
Gary.
talking about an independent third-party
Thank you. I
website.
think I'm done for the evening.
So
Yes.
I think, so if that was what you took from it, that was a miscue. That wasn't intended. This is all about what's on our village website.
Nobody's making
Okay,
their own website.
I stand
Bob.
corrected. But I want
Okay.
to commend the village does a good job.
Yes, they do. So that was our list of actions for the future. We're out of time, but is there anything that anybody wanted to bring up that we didn't kind of discuss or add to the agenda today? Okay, then. Is there a public comment? I see Carrie. Okay. Great. Well, were there any public comments during the meeting, Sharon?
No, there were not.
Okay. All right. Well, then are we ready to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, great. So may I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Clark,
Yes.
Bjork,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Gary,
Yeah,
Guzman,
I'm Gary,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Moses,
Yep.
Mizell,
Yeah.
Ruben,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Also, I just wanted to say something really quick. If I ever mispronounce your name, I hope I haven't done that, but if I ever do, please let me know because that really means a lot to me. So when I'm going through the roll call, message me separately. That would be great.
Oh my gosh, when you say it like that in such a sweet voice, I don't know if anybody wants to say that.
No, please do. Because sometimes I'm like, I hope I'm saying that right. So let me know. But who would
Okay.
like to make a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Thank you.
Second,
Who is the
Great.
second?
Hillary.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. And Reverend Gary, all the best with your new town.
All the best.
We'll see you
Well,
soon.
Bye.
Good luck, Gary.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Bye.
Luck.
Thank you all. Take care.
You too. Bye.